Hello, and welcome to the second in our series of self empowerment coaching. This is Being in Alignment Self Empowerment Principles of Awareness 2. This is designed to get us to the point where we can start remembering how to manifest and how to live huge now. In spirit is a new, I would say, but very personal thing with each person because we are about getting people to recognize who they are, what they are, why they act the way they do, and how they can now live huge now and be the God source being that you really are. And we also have made a strategic decision to go completely donation based for our products. And so we'd like to ask you, when you can, to donate. Use the buttons on our website, and you can do that there. Again, welcome, and now here is Katie.
Thank you, George, and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. This will be an informative and participative presentation, and as always, sit back, relax, and remember to breathe and enjoy. We are all that ever was, is, and will be. We are huge, vast, everywhere, but we fractaled into multifaceted singing lights to become experiences of form. We became creative in the forms we took and got caught up in believing these forms were all of reality. These forms are so real we became in the image of the finite and became blind to who we are. In the introductory webinar, we addressed the first two approaches to being in alignment in spirit. First one, wake up and stay awake to the awareness that we are God's source first eternal life being. And number two, what programs are interfering with living as God's source first eternal life being and how to realign the life source energy that we are. And also, the first two approaches addressed breaking the amnesic cycle we have been living for very, very long. Now we can address how to live huge now, in other words, how to express fully the vastness that we be. Okay, so the second two approaches to living huge now as the God source first eternal is one. Approach number 3, re-embody the self-empowerment principles of awareness and end playing the VV game. And number 4, harmonizing the gateway to living fully as God's source first eternal life being in a three-dimensional world, density 1, to live huge now. And this brings us to approach number 3, re-embody the self-empowerment principles of awareness. The realigning energy work is an ongoing process of re-evolution to re-embody the self-empowerment principles of awareness, which covers both reprogramming templates and lifestyle changes to break the cycle we have been living as a human race for many millennia. To re-embody the self-empowerment principles of awareness helps us to once again be in alignment with the spiritual being we truly are. And the re-embody the self-empowerment principles of awareness is 1. Let go of attachments. Be in the forever now. Feel versus feelings. Choose mindful action now. Be in our internal, eternal core of our being. Honor all levels of our being. Breathe harmonically. Balance. Live in perpetual appreciation. Trust in life. Be our authentic self. Live joyfulness. So, first one, letting go of attachment. Accept and appreciate life as it is, being in a state of perpetual engaged detachment. So we're fully engaged, fully alive, fully aware, just not holding on. Accept and observe the moment, allowing it to be full and complete as it is. No longer do we choose to be in opposition to any part of ourself. Live fully in the moment. Do not hold tight to anything, but do not forsake anything because it is messy. Life is messy, wonderfully muddy, dirty, and earthy. We worry way too much about being perfect and having to be right and not making mistakes and holding on to whatever we think is good and being attached to making things that appear incorrect to be correct. Let it all go and just breathe and see the wonderment of life as it is. The distorted ego of second creation mechanics lives for perfection and being safe and being right. The ego is continually in opposition with itself and all life around it. Just breathe and let it go. And take a moment to think of something that we have been holding on to that we think we have to have, or the world would somehow not be right without it. Write it down, and later we will explore it when we do harmonizing. In approach number 4. Be in the forever now. Choose to be in the now moment. Not in what was or what ifs, but what's going on right now. Breathe in the internal, eternal structure that we be. The now is not just being present in the moment. The now is the eternal. The now is where our beingness as source resides. So when is it now? It's now. Oh, it's now. Oh, now. Now is now, and it's now. Now. Each next moment is now. Always eternal now. Even when we think of the past or the future, we are now. Second creation supports us in running programs that make us think we're not now. We are such great manifestors that we do a pretty good job of running these programs. When we run the programs, we become out of step with the now. This means we lose step with our eternal beingness as source. Every time we are mindful of the programs that take us out of step, we shift our step to be in sync with the dance of the now we be. So take a moment to sit with ourself in the now moment, the quiet, still place within the inner core of our being. Breathing in and breathing out now. 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 There is a peace and a joy in living in the now state of consciousness. Even when planning the future, where are we? In the now. The key is to be very relaxed and peaceful. This is the world of first eternal creation. We do not have to be happy with ourselves or what is happening, nor do we work to fix or force the now to be anything but what it is. Soon enough, it changes form as we hold a peaceful, joyful stance. Then that is what our forever now will be. Which takes us into feel versus feelings. What do we actually feel right now? And not what we think we are feeling or emoting. Be mindful of what we are thinking and the associated emotions that are attached to the thought. Listen to our body, and what is it telling us? Hot, cold, hungry, hurting, feel healthy, energetic, tired? Listen to those because they are sound and real. The emotions or emos are the emotions or emos are the overlaying programming grids attached to the quote-unquote pain body we created to forget who we really are as God's first eternal beings. The Pain Body by Eckhart Tolle is looking to feed off emotions. So when it is full, it is calm and at peace. When it is hungry, it is very aggressive in running programs to feed off emo energy. Remember, emos are of the mind of past and future concerns and not in the eternal now. Keep the focus on the forever now and be mindful of thoughts, feelings, and actions will reprogram the neurocircuitry of the brain. Let us take a moment to sense what we feel and what we are emoting or feeling. Be aware of the difference. Sense the body energetically for what we feel. Listen to our minds. What are we feeling about whatever thoughts are going through our head? In other words, we may have a thought, I'm not safe. So then we have a corresponding feeling of not feeling safe, of being anxious and nervous. Just an example that came into my head. Choose mindful action now. Do not be constantly reactive to the environment to be in co-residence or harmony with the environment. Be mindful of thoughts, feelings, and actions. Okay. Even if it means just stopping and breathing for a few moments until the pain body calms down. The ego may be pushing its oppositional agenda about something, and our reptilian brain is in a reactive mode. When we are in a frantic state is the time to stop, breathe, and sit with the self. See what is really going on. What do we feel versus what we are feeling? How much of an emergency is the situation to really be right now? The program that is running is going to fight to stay alive. Be mindful of that and know that it is what is happening, not really any danger, nor any real self-important got to do this or be this anything. Think of a time we felt rattled about something. Relive how we felt. Okay. Imagine us there. Feel the breath quicken and tighten. Now, breathe. Sense as we breathe how we feel and our feelings. Keep breathing, letting both feelings and feel float through us. Did the end come? Were we able to move on? Did the situation get somehow resolved? Or is this a current situation we are dealing with? If current, then breathe and allow the moment to be. Experience what is received, continuing to focus on breathing, relaxing, being with self in the now moment. Follow guidance that comes in this still moment of breathing, no matter how illogical it may be. And of course, obviously, don't follow guidance that tells you to do yourself or other harm. And obviously, this is something you can practice over and over again in different situations. Okay, and next we go to be in our internal, eternal core of our being. Be the stillness within, the movement, and the movement within the stillness. Many times we think when we're in the core of our being we have to be like totally still and not move. Actually, within that stillness there is a movement of energy, a flowing, oscillating flow of energy moving around and through us as we evolve and move in the stillness of the core. Know the silence and move within it, perpetually moving onward and upward within the crystal spiral of life, of perpetual renewal of life. So remember, that is the big difference between first and second creation mechanics. First creation is perpetual renewal of life. Second creation mechanics is finite, impermanent, basically death. Sustaining and maintaining fully and fulfilled, expanding into the external manifest creation of being whole and complete. Know we are 360 degrees spherically. For the second creation mechanics to sustain, it needs us creators to be scattered amnesic, running on the ifs and will be's emos. One way it does this is to keep us focused outside of ourself. Keeps us focused on what we have to fix out there. So in other words, inward contracting, holding, right? The fullness of our being is naturally, there's a certain amount of, breathing in it, but then there's the expanding out fully, which expands into all life of everything, above, below, around, okay? What do we have to save or maintain or change out there? Only out there is a myth because it's really all internal, eternal. But while we think we are out there, in other words, out of our core, we will let go of being the forever eternal now of the core expanding into infinity where all is truly alive. We will focus more on this principle more in depth during the fourth approach of harmonizing, because this is kind of a key element actually of the harmonizing, is being in our eternal core of being. Honor all levels of our being. From the density 1, three-dimensional, universe to all multidimensional levels expanding into the core of your being, source of the all-oneness we all be. Now that we are a soul, oversoul, Christos avatar, a rishi, and a Buddha, all the way up to a Christar and beyond, so embrace them all. Breathe into each level and remember who we are every moment we be. We can sit with each of these levels of being, gaining awareness of each of them by saying the name and being with them. Each level of our multidimensional reality has its own corresponding world it lives in. Voyagers 1 and 2 and Gathara level 1 can be very helpful, as well as the Keylonic Dictionary, in giving you the 3D information for these different levels. And the links to them will be in the resource section of this webinar. Breathe harmonically. The key step is to remember to breathe. Each breath we is the internal structure throughout the situation we are depolarizing because we are actually omnipolar. Be aware of our breath. Are we holding our breath, or are we breathing full, even, slow breaths? The Chris code breathes or phases in and out. The breath is our mechanics to perpetual renewal of the eternal now of the omnipolar. Second creation lives in the holding of opposition of the polarized. We do not need to analyze the situation, we just breathe and be in the now moment the awareness is. So, right now, take a moment now to check how are we breathing. Take slow, full, even, deep breaths for a few moments. When you breathe in, fill in your belly, and you can put your hand on your belly. When you breathe in, your belly raises with your hand, and when you breathe out, your belly goes back down. You breathe into your belly, feeling it go all the way up your chest. Okay, because when you do that, when you fill your belly, you get oxygen into your legs. When you fill your chest, you get it into all your organs. You get it into your head. It means your body is fully oxygenated. And that actually decreases the chances of cancer when your body is fully oxygenated. So the better you breathe, the less chances you can have of illness. Balance. Okay. Find a balance in our life. What is dragging us down? Just things to think about for you personally. What are we holding on to that we could let go? That's part of what's dragging us down. There is a balance unique to each person, so you can't go by what somebody else writes down and this is what you do. Okay? Remember, you got to go within. Listen to what our body is saying. We know when we have taken on too much or we have more to do. That is something personal to us, to our own needs. Balance is not about making everything 50-50 either, or doing the quote-unquote right thing, which is usually what somebody else said somewhere. Balance is listening to our internal voice that says this works, or this is enough, or this is not enough. Logic, only plays a minimal role. It does play a role, but minimal. Logic is to be respected, but not at the cost of all our other expressions. Logic as one's central way of being is being fully second creation mechanics. Balance is continually evolving as we re-evolve. What was in balance for us yesterday may not be in balance for us today. So it's always important. Check in. How are you doing today? How are you doing an hour from now? How are things working? Because we're always evolving, changing, growing. Okay, live in perpetual appreciation. Due to the Chris Code program, what we think, feel, and do perpetually creates the world around us. When we live life by what we want or do not have, then we will continually be wanting and not having. Look around our world and see the beauty that we have taken part in creating. All nuances of it. Even the things we do not like are all awesome creations. Again, what you think is what you get. When we value what we already have created or brought into our lives, we create an energy of knowing we can create more of whatever we put our attention to. In other words, we stand in our personal God Source First Eternal manifesting power. So the knowingness and being with it and appreciating everything we create, then that is how it will be, or how it actually is. Trust in life. Know and appreciate that we already have all of what we want and need. What we want and need is just manifesting in our divine right order and divine right timing, or alignment, AIS. Life is us, and not something imposed on us to survive or even just experience. Remember, when life is not unfolding as we would like for it to, stop, breathe into the moment, allowing the moment to be. Even focus on something else for a bit, and soon enough, what we really wanted will fall right into our laps. Keep in mind there is a difference between what we think we want and what we really want. We get what we expect, whether we know or remember we are expecting it or not. Be our authentic self. Know full and completely that we are it. We take on our clothes of identities: mother, girl, boy, father, contractor, therapist, laborer, spiritualist, religious seeker, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Hindu, and the list could go on for thousands of pages, all the different characters of expression we wear. None of them truly touch our own authentic I am self. Okay? We are everything that ever was, is, and will be. Sit with that for a moment. Breathe into it. Sit with that on a regular basis until we truly get what that is all about. The I am. I am. I am. How can we put an individuated name on that? Live joyfulness. Joy is a choice. It is not something to attain. It is something to be. Our world could be turned upside down, and we can still be in a state of perpetual joy. Know we are it. We are joy and everything else. Joy is the full realization of who we are and the understanding that everything is continually changing, and what is happening in one moment with a blink of the eye will change in the next. And they are things we manufactured with a thought long past. Re-embody the self-empowerment principles of awareness continued. Regular practice, quietly sitting with each of the self-empowerment principles of awareness, breathing into them, and just become aware of them and what insight we gain from them. Be with them, breathe into them, and do not assign anything to them. Awareness will evolve in our psyche. In that sitting, an awareness of who we are is realized. Through the breathing and the sitting, and this is different than meditating, because meditating can be a very active thing to do. Just the breathing and sitting, we find our truth and not somebody else's programmed truth. Honor where we are at in the process of living now as the God Source First Eternal Being. We always want to focus on what we want to create ourselves to be or how we're going to be. Honor where you're at right now because you're already it. You are it. We are in the process of realigning the internal, eternal life flows back into our second creation constructs, right? Because no matter where you are, everything is still source. And before we go on, remember, second creation construct abides in the past and the future, but not normally in the eternal now. All right, emotions as a second creation mechanics tool. To get into that a little bit more. Emotions are of elemental origins, right? The emotional elemental body, but they have become part of the second creation mechanics. While they are elemental in design, they are no longer controlled by the elemental body or the physical feel body. Okay? They are actually run by the mental, distorted ego self. Okay? Emos can be fun. Okay, and again, everything's source. Everything's to experience. So emos can be fine to experience, perfectly great, coolio, and play with, and they're not right or wrong or good or bad. They are to experience fully and completely. Okay? Because they are just as much being God's source as everything else is God's source. And again, including second creation mechanics itself. Being mindful of what they are and the mental programs we let mindlessly run is a key to understanding how we have become trapped in amnesia on this planet. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Okay. Eckhart Tolle addresses the emos through his book, The New Earth, as the pain body, and I highly recommend this book. It was still just a very outstanding book. I read it a number of years ago, and it was very meaningful to me and helped me on my path tremendously. Thoughts that trigger emotional responses in the body may sometimes come so fast that before the mind has had time to voice them, the body has already responded with an emotion, and the emotion has turned into an action. Those thoughts exist at pre-verbal stage and could be called unspoken, unconscious assumptions and programs. They have their origin in a person's past conditioning, usually from early childhood. People cannot be trusted would be an example of such an unconscious assumption in a person. This was from page 135. Looking at Eckhart's example of people cannot be trusted means that there are people outside, right, of oneself that cannot be trusted. For to trust then would mean somehow being hurt or deceived, therefore victimized, right? We have strong emotions to back this up with on how we are feeling about it, because there's associated thought and the emo, that feeling that goes with it. And that intensifies it, which is a great manifestation tool, right? On the other side of that same coin, the same person in the next moment could turn around and say, I am tired of being victimized by untrustworthy people, so I am going to be aggressive towards untrustworthy people. So then now they become the victimizer, right? This could be overtly aggressive in their behavior towards untrustworthy people, or could be covertly by backhanded measures. For example, keying someone's car, cutting tires, or sabotaging them from getting a promotion, and not included in a particular group. The other person may or may not be untrustworthy, and if so, we do not know the history behind why the person has become untrustworthy. Maybe they have had childhood events that had an effect on them, determining to be honest is dangerous, and to be honest means to be violated or hurt, meaning victimized. When we refer to the pain body, we are referring also to what may be an aspect of the shadow body. The next few slides further shows the dynamics of this pain body / shadow body dynamics in terms of the codependent victim and the narcissist victimizer. Okay, dynamics of the codependent victim and the narcissist victimizer personalities. Understanding the dynamics of these two types of characters gives us a better understanding of how deep in our culture the VV game of life runs. Later we will see some of the different VV game stances these two can dance. Second creation mechanics does not want us to wake up into the awareness that we truly are. The VV game with the emos is one of the biggest tools it uses to keep us amnesic. We will discuss more of the VV game, and we will define clearer who the victim, target, codependent, and the victimizer, aggressor, narcissist are. We will discuss how they both are two sides of the same coin. We will then discuss some of the stances that these two can play together, and we will see how re-embodying the self-empowerment principles of awareness can help us break the cycle of the VV game, no matter which side of the fence we appear to be playing on. Keep in mind the victimizer rarely sees themselves as victimizers. They usually see themselves as victims. Our health and well-being is linked directly into how we are able to deal with oppositional victim mechanics. The stronger we hold on to opposition, the stronger the emos are embedded, the sicker we become both physically and psychologically. The codependent, and I got this information predominantly from Wikipedia, but put it in my own words. The codependent sees the world in terms of being a victim of a dangerous world where one can only rely on oneself because people are out to somehow take advantage of them. The only way they can receive what they feel is love is to manipulate others for attention. An example would be playing the martyr. Oh, poor me, look at what I've sacrificed to be with you, so please don't leave me. Please stay and love me. The codependent puts their needs below others so that they can make sure they will not be abandoned and alone because, above all, they do not love or trust themselves. They believe that they are defective and not good enough. They are riddled with low self-esteem that affects their ability or lack of ability to bond in deep committed relationships. All the relationships on the surface may appear close, yet on further scrutiny one will find there is a deep abyss between them and the people they love and who love them. Love is determined not by affection and bonding or caring of another. Love for the codependent is based on feeling needed by another. In other words, love is determined by how dependent someone is on the codependent, so the dependent will not be able to leave the codependent. And now to define the narcissist, quote, victimizer. They are the center of their world. The narcissist sees the world as an extension of him or herself and not as individual people. Okay. Honesty is a foreign concept. People, resources that are in support of the narcissist will be in favor and treated with some consideration. People, resources that are not in support of the narcissist are treated hellishly. Everyone else revolves around them. They feel entitled to whatever they want and magically think they can get whatever they want by using the resources, the people around them. People are seen for what they can do for the narcissist, not for what the narcissist can do for them as individual people. It is only to be used if it is to the narcissist's advantage. Other than that, it is a waste of time. It being people, things, whatever. They can, if they're not to their use, then they can be destroyed either verbally, socially, and at times physically by the narcissist. This vulnerability can never be shown to anyone, not even themselves. In other words, they may be trying to scam someone out of something, but if they can belittle the person, they will even at the potentiality of jeopardizing their own plans. This pain body that is built on insecurity, not good enough, fear, inadequacy, feeds on the same kind of emotions of others, even to their own detriment. While on the surface they act like they are better than everyone else, underneath they are plagued just like the codependent with feeling defective. So, wherever they can knock someone down emotionally so that they can feel superior, they will do it, whether this is to their favor or not. This characteristic of the narcissist is to belittle others, to bring up their self-worth, is also a quality of the pain body mentioned earlier. The relationship between the codependent and narcissist. As long as both the narcissist and the codependent both work to avoid dealing with feeling defective, they will both be plagued with continuing the cycle of feeding off each other's pain body and cutting themselves off from expressing as the God Source First Eternal Being that they be. The pain body schema dances with the codependent and the narcissist, playing out many times the traditional codependent schemas scenarios listed next. And I got this from Disarming the Narcissist, Surviving and Thriving with the Self-Absorbed by Wendy T. Beharry, LCSW, page 43. And these next few slides are really going to test some of us. The blame-shame game and the victim game is so interlaced throughout our society. The fact is, we are not victims by any means, and the blame-shame game is a total sham. So listen and breathe. Okay, codependent schema scenarios. Number 1, self-sacrifice. Each person has their part to play. The codependent sacrifices to gain control over another, to not be abandoned, and in turn the narcissist is excited by another giving of themselves, whatever the motivation, they in turn can take advantage and use. Both are using each other and feeding off any disharmonic energy that comes from the sacrifice energy. And the next one, subjugation. The narcissist is drawn like a magnet to the codependent, who continually gives away their self-sovereign right to keep the narcissist fed, so he or she will not abandon the codependent. We all like to see how other people fit into these scenarios. The key to understand in this webinar is everything comes back to us. So ask, how have we been self-sacrificing to get some kind of gain? Or, how have we taken advantage of someone being self-sacrificing, thinking we are completely justified for whatever reason? How often do we give our power away to keep the peace or make someone quote-unquote happy? Knowing we are being walked over but not wanting to cause any problems, yet feeling a little or a lot of resentment, we just swallow back. Or we push our agenda knowing full well we are pushing our way over someone else, but because we think we are right, then we are justified in doing so. Abandonment instability. The narcissist can feed off the codependent's terror of being abandoned, and the codependent can play the victimized, tortured soul. Defectiveness shame. The narcissist feeds off being able to easily belittle and make codependent feel defective and shamed of being weak and so not being rejected or abandoned. Pain body feeding. We all have been affected by issues of abandonment and feeling a bit defective at some point in our lives. The question is, did we think how we were affecting the people around us? And or how we went down the victim spiral. Emotional inhibition. The codependent stands silent and stoic in the face of the narcissist's outbursts, each feeding off each other's energy. Both are exuding rage. One is passive and one is aggressive. Emotional deprivation. The narcissist can have someone that sticks around to use, and the codependent gets to live in the self-fulfilling prophecy of not finding someone to love and look after them, with the associated depression that goes with it. Both are somehow emotionally inhibited to expressing true emotion. How have we at times shut our emotions down, thinking we could control the raging behavior of a family member, coworker, or partner, only to be blasted verbally or even physically? Or how many times has our temper hurt other people emotionally? We get so angry because all we can see is how we are affected. How often do we stick in relationships that we feel deprived and should have either spoken up or ended a long time ago? We think we need to stay in it for whatever reason. Or we stay in a relationship we do not really care about because we are getting some need met. Mistrust and abuse. The narcissist has a punching bag, and the codependent, to his or her detriment, has become a victim of his or her own codependent schema and therefore incapable of defending themselves. Unrelenting standards. The narcissist has very high standards due to their attempt at making up for their feelings of inadequacy. The narcissist sees all around them as extensions of self, so therefore expect the same conduct from those around them. The codependent, in their need for control and need to not show their inadequacies, works extra hard to fulfill the narcissist's standards. It is truly a no-win-win game on either side. Many of us unfortunately get caught up in this role. We can get out of it if we stand in our power and keep our wits about us. Sadly, some of us have been on the other side, not seeing someone else as who they are, but as someone to get our needs met, and when those needs were not met, or we thought they did not live up to our high, rigid standards, we punished them in some form or another. The truth is, we do not need anyone. We surely do not need to live off others' energy. We are love, joy, harmony, and every feeling or expression possible for remember, we are it. We have all we need within us. We are abundance incarnate. But as long as we think we are not okay and separate from ourself and all life, everywhere we will continue to play this disharmonic game, thinking we are justified in manipulating and using others, and others yielding to the use. Here are further complex schemas, scenarios between the victim / codependent / target and the victimizer / narcissist / aggressor to further gain understanding of the depth of the game. Remember to keep in mind there is a fine line between the victim and the victimizer. Both feel that they have in some way been violated or hurt. Both are giving their power away to something outside themselves. Both are letting the emos run the show. So, in these particular stanzas, I received them from the Victim Victimizer VV Game MCO Freedom Teachings, Virginia Beach, 2006 MCEO, from E.A. Shadeen. We have in these stanzas, false stanzas, we have an aggressor and a target. So we have first the buddy aggressor and the lone child target, the false friend stance. We then have the baby doll aggressor, the doting do-gooder target, the false child stance. Hero savior aggressor, helpless honey target, and false parent stance. Terrorist aggressor, acrimonious achiever target, false righteousness stance. Possum aggressor, peacekeeper target, dead enemy stance. Snake aggressor, status seeker target, false truce Trojan horse stance. Mortar, poor me, aggressor, blind blamer target, is it you, is it me, is it element 3 stance. Magician aggressor, sin eater target, magician stance. Bully psychopath aggressor, fixer target, the double whammy stance. And we will now go through each of these, explaining what they are, and then correlating how the principles of awareness can help break the stance cycle. Okay, we start with the false friend stance, aggressor, buddy, target, lone child. In the false friend stance, the object is how to covertly have control through veined allegiance. One is the I will be your best buddy, and the other is I am like an innocent child all alone in the world. How many times have you seen this scenario played out? On the outside, it may appear that this is beneficial. For example, Wanda, an orphan who is always getting sick to deal with her family's death, is totally dependent on Sarah, who had befriended her at an inner city community center for unprivileged children. Sarah, being a very tough adolescent teen who herself grew up in a very tough home where she stood out by how well she took care of everyone around her. On the surface, this looks like a very supportive relationship. There is a strong bond between them, but the bond is based on one person being strong and the other being weak. If one or the other changes the role, the relationship becomes weakened. Sarah will always be the tough guy who looks after everyone but herself, seeing to the needs of others, never understanding what her own needs are. Wanda will never have to take real responsibility for herself and will continue being sick so that someone will take care of her because she is all alone in the world. And this is where we bring in the empowerment principles. So, how can we be fully our authentic self, God Source First Eternal, if we are continually meeting others' needs or not taking responsibility for our own life? Love of self life is the first step for all the different stances. Letting go of the need for control in one form or another and just valuing and living in perpetual appreciation of oneself and life around us. The real truth is both target and aggressor are one same conscious aware source energy continually creating and experiencing life together. Neither one is better than the other. Each has their own great qualities that may not always be seen or experienced when they are playing the power and competition game. Okay, now the next one. False child stance. Aggressor, baby doll. Target, doting do-gooder. Control can have many faces. It can be an aggressive overt expression, or it can be a covert manipulative expression. What appears on the surface may not be real. Someone may appear all sweet and childlike, but really the person is targeting someone to gain some type of control. Both the baby doll and the doting do-gooder can switch back and forth depending upon the situation. And now we're going to look at the empowerment principles to utilize. Of course, really all of them are helpful, but we're just picking a few of them. Both the baby doll and the doting do-gooder are looking for something outside themselves to somehow meet a need or be okay or gain an edge. The mechanics of Be Your Authentic Self helps us to become aware that we are capable of taking care of our own needs because we are Source God and that life-sustaining energy flows through us all the time. And we are not at the false parent stance, aggressor, hero, savior, target, helpless honey. The aggressor pretends to be a caretaker in some form or other to the target to manipulate their energy. The target thinks on the surface all is well and they are being looked after. The aggressor can be male or female. The stance could be between two siblings or two coworkers, for instance. The person with the control doles out pieces of the power, never really giving it all up, so the target has to continue depending on the aggressor. Yet, all that really happens is the target still feels fearful and out of control, which only makes them become even more dependent on the aggressor. One person is perceived as having some ability or skill or power that the other does not appear to have. The empowerment to utilize. Live in perpetual appreciation for our own abilities as Source God, and no one is better or worse than anyone else. Be in our internal, eternal core of our being is another principle to embrace, for if we see that we are the directors of our energy, we can break the VV game stance. When we value who we are, then we do not need to seek out others to look after us. We can embrace our personal power again to be the manifestors we truly are. Even in this stance, the aggressor feels he cannot, or she can't, stand on his or her own without somehow gaining energy off another person. We are by nature in control of our energy, or self-contained within ourselves, holding within us all that we need to sustain our life as God's first eternal being. Okay, now we were at the false righteousness stance. Aggressor, terrorist, target, acrimonious achiever. This is the who gets the righteous to be the righteous game. The aggressor will make out how he or she has been somehow violated or hurt by the target. The target is completely confused, thinking he or she did something wrong, but may think maybe he or she did not. The aggressor gets others on his or her side to discredit the target, because remember, this is energy, power. The principle to embrace here is honor all levels of our being, holds that we are capable, no matter how dysfunctional and distorted life becomes, we can hold our own in the thick of it because we are God's source in action. Feel versus feeling. Lets us know that we have the ability to control our actions and reactions and not just blindly play the VV game of hotly charged reactions of wanting to fight or flee in a given situation. We do not need to prove that we are right and that someone else to be wrong for us to be okay. We are already God's source in action. Through self-discipline, we can choose other ways of being that are not tied to the VV game. And again, the self-empowerment principles of awareness are key to that self-discipline. Okay, now we are at the dead enemy stance. Aggressor possum, target peacekeeper. The aggressor plays dead, like there is no problem anymore, instilling a false sense of peace that is not real. The peacekeeper thinks all is well and at peace, and therefore relaxes and is no longer vigilant to the aggression that is still going on. The person goes back to normal behavior. And we look at the self-empowerment principles of awareness. Choose mindful action now, no matter which role is being taken. The possum needs to stop and be aware of what emos are running the show when one is holding on to anger or resentment and just waiting for the right time to somehow get back at the other person. They are not present in the now to themselves or anyone else. Okay. The peacekeeper, knowing that the issue is not really resolved, to stay aware that it could come up again. If it does, to handle it by choosing mindful action now, with grace and owning what is the person's and not taking what happens personally, and to keep one's head. In other words, be aware of how we use our energy. And now that takes us to false truth Trojan horse stance, which is kind of like an unfolding of the one we just talked about. You have the aggressor, snake, and the target, status seeker. The aggressor, the snake, makes the target, status seeker, believe that everything is fine. There is no problem anymore. Then the status seeker opens the doors to allow the snake, who's now become the Trojan, to waltz right in. The snake can then control the status seeker's energy any way he or she wants to. This Trojan horse tactic is a highly skilled action that takes normally a lot of training to do. It's probably not one you're going to hopefully see very often or experience very often. The empowerment principles to utilize. The principles help both parties to stop the game at any time. The principle of trust in life means that we stand in our power as God's source all oneness, knowing in this strength we can handle whatever gets placed in our path. Okay? So in other words, the status seeker can trust that no matter how crazy the situation is, they will be able to handle it. Because there's nothing we truly, truly can handle. We should always be asking ourselves, are we living trust in life? Are we respecting the rights and choices of others? Even when it does not suit us or even violates every principle we live by. The status seeker may or may not have actually done something wrong to the victimized snake. Either way, the status seeker can control how he or she reacts to the situation. Trust in life as the all-oneness. No matter what happens, we do not engage in the game. Okay, is it you? Is it me? Is it element number 3 stance? Aggressor, martyr, poor me. Target, blind blamer. This is a very crazy game to play. The aggressor acts like the victim, mirroring to the other person their stuff. This tactic is a way of isolating the target. It makes them look bad, so the attention is off the aggressor. The aggressor really believes he is not at fault. That is what's so diabolical about it. That is where the number 3 element comes in. We have this element in our coding that purposely has us seeing in terms of being victimized, even though we may be the ones actually doing the aggressing. It is a dance that we play, and there are no winners. The biggest problem with this is that it is no-win situation that just brings down your energy and even twists it up and makes us run second creation mechanics, right? Because this is what the program's to do. In actuality, the emos, energy in motion, are fighting through you, okay? Specifically, element number 3, lithium. Yeah, lithium, the stuff people take to deal with mood swings and which powers batteries. We're feeding second creation mechanics. Okay? Via our emos, which are powered by lithium, just like a battery. Okay. Feel versus feelings is one powerful principle to have in the defense against the element number 3, trauma. If we continually own our behavior and do not give someone else power over us, then we do not get caught up in the blame-shame game. We know that it is not a matter of who is at fault. It is a matter of seeing oneself and all around each other the expression of the all-oneness. Life is not about finding fault in others' actions that may have ended in us somehow not getting our way. Life is about divine right order and divine right timing. If we have created something to happen, then it will happen in its own time. We do not need to be doormats. We can hold others accountable for their behavior as we hold ourselves responsible for our behavior. By being mindful of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we will continually create the life we want around us. What are we creating? What are we bringing to our life? The magician's stance, aggressor magician, target sin eater. The aggressor magician pretends that the target is like them. They play on the target, sin eater, who feels guilty for everyone's stuff. The sin eater has been told many times that they are responsible for the mistakes others make. They have come to believe it. The magician matches the energy of the sin eater. The magician says things like, "It's okay, I forgive you, we all make mistakes." The sin eater, after a while, is like, "Wait a minute, I did not do this, did I? But the magician, with its sleight of hand, continues to play on the Sin Eater, making them think that yes, they had done something wrong to take the tension off the magician who actually had done this aggressive behavior. If the Sin Eater is calm, then the magician is calm to the point that the magician sounds so rational and logical that the Sin Eater starts really questioning whether or not they did whatever it was they were told that they did. The more we heal our stuff and clear the stuck energies attached to those old outdated programs, the easier we can see these games and end them. The principle of being our authentic self will help us see where we are at in the scale of being the target or the aggressor. Are we trying to gain an edge or take something from someone, or are we trying to give our power away so we do not have to take full responsibility for our true power? Both have actually given away their Christic power that is innately within them. Being our authentic self makes us look at how we are standing in our power, being the best at whatever we put our attention to. As the Christic being that we all are, we are a powerhouse in and of ourself. We do not need to use others in any way to gain power, nor do we need to shy away from that power because of any mistakes we may have made. In the end, what we think what may have been a mistake may end up being the best thing that ever happened to the planet or the universe. We never really know in a short term what the very long-term effects are. Perspective currently. Not good. The double whammy stance: aggressor, bully, psychopath, and target fixer. This is the double whammy in that the mirror flips back and forth. Who's on first? Who's on second scenario? The target fixer is continually trying to solve the problems by the abuser or bully, only to find the harder they try, the more abusive the bully gets. There comes a point the fixer has to let go of trying to change someone who does not want to be changed. At this point, the bully can decide to leave, kill, or something else. They can decide to actually change, which is really nice when the fixer enabler stops playing the game and the abuser has to make a choice. Most of the time, they decide to continue on their destructive path of feeding off each other's energy. Sometimes the fixer has to leave either temporarily or forever, depending upon the severity of the situation. The principles to empower, to utilize. Choose mindful action now. Allows us to be awake and aware to who we are as God's first eternal beings. How are our actions, thoughts, and emotions living this expression of being, or when is it not? We can attune ourselves to being that expression of the all-oneness. Becoming attuned to our expression as all-oneness is never about attaining some distant favor from some great force. Becoming attuned is about being present to the now of who we are. Choosing mindful action rather than mindless action supports us in being all oneness. The next principle to embrace is to honor all levels of our being. Give love and consideration to ourselves and to those around us. Remember to honor all our decisions ahead of time now, because when we hold a grudge on ourselves or others, we come from a space of anger and resentment. That can be a dark space that can swallow us up if we are not careful. It can make us act in ways that can be damaging to ourselves or others. Many have justified a lot of pain and suffering in the name of revenge or righting a wrong. We can become cynical and hard, and we can express that in a harsh way to those we love, by becoming the bully or by trying to always fix something because the thought of letting it go is worse than holding on to it. Let go and honor, love all parts of self and all levels of the uniqueness we all be. Lastly, the principle to embrace is to breathe harmonically. The breath is a powerful tool to keep us present. How can we, in loving, reverent respect and kindness, co-create a space we all can come out on top? How can we create a win-win situation? Breathing harmonically takes us to the now, the place of all possibility. From this place, we are able to see the fullness of life, where there is no need for one-upmanship or getting the edge over someone. Competition is fun on the basketball court, but one-upmanship can only cause everyone in the end to lose, because how interconnected we are as spiritual source beings. To slap someone is to slap our source spirit self. Competition is another game we play that keeps us amnesic. We believe it is truth. We have been taught by being competitive gives us initiative to make something of ourselves, quote unquote. But what about the joy of doing something? And do we really need to be doing something to make something of ourselves? Or are we not already everything? And we will now take a 5-minute break and listen to El Condor Pasa. Belief programs do not necessarily equal truth. As much as we would like our beliefs to be based on the truth, they are only based on, quote-unquote, make-believe, generally of other people's and planetary programs. Meaning the world we live in is not absolute, and we can change at any time we change our program beliefs. The door to all possibility is now open. Now be all possibility. Okay? Change up what you do. Okay? Practice doing things we are uncomfortable with helps us break our belief program cycle. Example would be talk to someone we normally would not talk to. Spend time in places we do not normally go to. Become more aware of the programmed games we play. Okay. The power of our VV game program. The VV game is a fight or flight programming grid hard-coded instinct embedded in the DNA that affects every part of our being. The reality is that we are all the all-oneness of God's source, so there cannot be the aggressor and the violated unless we had programmed it into the DNA at the elemental level. Rules of the VV game. We see the bad guy outside of ourselves telling us the world is big and bad out there. We play being either weak and helpless victims or aggressive and at times dangerous victimizers. Eckhart's assumption about childhood decisions was affected by the child's DNA that screamed to see the situation in either aggressive or victim manner due to planetary implants. Never be hard on ourselves when we play the game. Games have rules. It's just a matter of learning the rules. We commanded, held the intention belief, the elements within and without our body, to be weak, helpless victims. What better way to do two things at one time? 1. Convincing ourselves continually that the world is a big bad world out there and that we are separate from it, and 2. We are weak and helpless and need outside help to be safe and sustain our life. Since we set up the rules, we can change them or follow them to find the rules we set up to end the game. The Game of Second Creation Life board game. This game is an excellent example of the rules/instructions showing us our mindset on this planet. Some examples from the Game of Life. Game board. Predetermined created structure to follow paths already designed. 6 plastic pawns. Person used by others for their own purpose. Other words used: puppet, dupe, hostage, tool, and most interesting, a pawn can be used as collateral for money, meaning there is a value and use for said pawn. Yet this pawn allows itself to be used for another's purpose. Bridge, a transition from one life stage to another. Only in this game we are still on the board. We move from one life transition to another, thinking we have made great strides, only to find we are somehow back where we started from. Label sheet. Names given narrowed dissected identities. The more we label something to define it, the more fragmented it becomes, losing sight of its wholeness or holiness. Banker's tray. The controller's institution/system. The Illuminati ruling system, who run the agenda of their second creation construct, non-physical selves, who relish in oppositional control mechanics. They are the most amnesic of all. Stacks of play money. Tool of the controllers. While being a tool of the Illuminati control does not make it solely second creation mechanics. Money is energy that can be recoded with our intent of how we use it. Bank loans and pay raises, two mechanisms the controllers use. A loan is a promissory note that is not actually money. We sign an agreement to the promise. We are then tied to the note until we pay it. We are tied to the system to receive our wage pay raises. For ages 9 to adult, the age when we start playing the game well. Our mental focus and development has become programmed to the game by age 9. Adult assembly required. We become the inner controller. In fact, we take the controller's place in control. We do it for them. We live by ethics we think are God-given, but are really man-made. Remember, the VV game was set up to keep us in amnesia to who we are, God's first eternal being. We had convinced ourselves that we did not deserve to embody our power. There were parts of our source self that embodied the second creation construct and intensified it. We then created a space where the second creation mechanics could feed off our energy power. Being aware of the game and not buying into it anymore is the first step in gaining our full power back for all life everywhere. We can reclaim who we are as God's first eternal being and let go of the game of giving our power away or sucking power from others to sustain. Sit quietly with each principle, breathing into them and seeing where we are with them. Not fixing or analyzing, just breathe with each one. Be open to see where we all are with both the victim and the victimizer, allowing both to be without judgment or blame. Remember, life is now, so now choose how we want to be. And obviously this is going to be something that you're going to do on your own and take your time with them. And we are at approach number 4, harmonizing the gateway to living fully as a God's first eternal life being in a 3-dimensional world, density 1. Live huge now. Harmonizing is the ability as God's first eternal life being to live in perpetual aliveness with all life everywhere. It is our way of bringing in the internal structure of all oneness into the manifest light and sound world we co-create with every breath we take. To live huge now. Live huge now, harmonizing. It is our ability to release manifest external life from living in opposition to itself and all life around it. Harmonizing is to see life as it is, without value judgment of right or wrong, good or bad. When all expressions are the all oneness, then nothing is separate, all is equally and mutually valued. Harmonizing is perpetually living in love. Stepping out of living in second creation mechanics is to stop playing the game and live huge now. Mindfulness brings awareness of how we are all interconnected with everything. In this awareness, we see the futility in being in opposition to anything. Remember, the distorted ego is even in opposition with what it wants, just because it is in opposition with everything. Never satisfied, always needing and wanting. Never just being now. When we harmonize the oppositional energy, it realigns as awareness of being flows. How to harmonize. Live huge now. we sit with our beingness, it expands from the very depth of our inner core all the way out to infinity of our outermost core. Be aware that we are 360-degree spherical being-ising, as above, as below, as within and without. Expanding out and then back again, continually phasing, oscillating within and without, within and without. Breathing in and breathing out. Live huge now. Okay, so now get comfortable. For those that would like to participate in harmonizing, also at any time one feels uncomfortable with what is happening, one can say stop to themselves. After all, we are working with ourselves. So, as we breathe, the phasing, be aware. Breathing in, we have hands, breathing out. Arms, breathing in and breathing out. Shoulders, breathing in and breathing out. Neck, breathing in and breathing out. A head, breathing in, breathing out. Spine, breathing in and breathing out. And that spine reaches all the way into the hips and pelvis, breathing in and breathing out. And we have legs, breathing in and breathing out. Knees, breathing in and breathing out. Ankles, breathing in and breathing out. Feel the connection with the floor. Feel the connection to the earth beneath the floor, all the way down into Earth's core. A little more deep breath down into Aurora Earth core, connecting with something called Suns 1, 2, and 3. Breathing it back up again into our body, feeling it moving through the feet, all the way through, all the way out the top of our head, all the way above us, out into infinity, to the sky star above us. Energies around us. Breathing in, we are awareness itself. Breathing it out. Take full, even breaths. Breathing into the now. Breathing out. Breathing in awareness. Breathing it into our beingness without. Just continue breathing for a minute. Yes, breathing with the phasing, be with it, breathe into it, do not assign anything to it, just sit with it. Awareness will re-evolve in our psyche. The key to harmonizing is be awareness. Breathing in, breathing out. If we try to harmonize without being awareness, we are normalizing, which lives in the realm of second creation mechanics. As we gain strength in being awareness, when the emo programs come up to be experienced, we can now see them from this space and breathe into them, expanding the internal, eternal structure back into them. Breathing in, breathing out. Normalizing is making what does not fit and not liked fit in and seem okay or normal. There is a false facade created or false face put on. There is no struggle, but there is no union or realigning either. Awareness is experiencing life as it is, without preconceived notions or beliefs determining reality. Even continuous breathing allows for awareness to express in the now. To re-embody self-empowerment principles of awareness support us in being able to harmonize again. The fragmented realigns. Breathing in and breathing out. No fixing or manipulating or going over the trauma again is needed to live huge now. Our experiences are of oneness. They are not good or bad. They just is or be. Breathing in and breathing out. The fragmented story program we created that led to our pain and suffering is what we are harmonizing, realigning. That fragmented story program will now become whole. Breathing in, breathing out. Harmonizing, or in essence being in a state of awareness, is seeing all life as it is, without assigning value judgments, allowing for an energetic flow back and forth of running the internal, eternal flow throughout all parts of self, thereby bringing eternal life flow back into second creation mechanics. Breathe into the areas of the body that are experiencing resistance. If we have a particular issue, especially the one discussed earlier, breathe into it. This is the time to be mindful of it and feel where it is held in the body. And then breathe into that area. Honor all thoughts and feelings that came. Know that there is a story, programmed belief that designed the issue. Continue to breathe into it, allowing the story to play out, seeing it for what it is, and seeing the truth of what actually happened. Be at peace as the internal and eternal structure. Just breathe back in. Feel the 360-degree connection to all life around us. Breathing from the core, inner core of our being, stretching from all directions, deep into Aurora Earth core, and all the way to our Christ star above, expanding to the eternal now all around us. Then breathing it back into the core, continually phasing in and out. Take a few moments to breathe into the awareness of what is. This concludes harmonizing, but keep breathing and know that this is a continually re-evolving process. The more we stay in the present now, the more we can be mindful when stuff comes up to be in harmony with it instead of in opposition of it. In summary, live huge now, the self-empowerment principles of self-awareness. Every moment we become more aware of all aspects of self, the more we live huge now. We can live huge now. We do not need to wait until we have fixed ourselves before we can express who we are. By understanding the second creation mechanics major tool, the VV game of oppositional mechanics, we can daily break the cycle while continuously blossoming more and more into expressing as God's first eternal being. Utilizing our natural mechanics of harmonizing, the second creation construct realigns with every breath we take and live huge now. In conclusion, live huge now. Do not become attached to living the right way, because that's somebody else's definitions of it. Live from the core of our internal, eternal expression to be in alignment with our outer self-expression. Do not let others determine who and what we are. Move at our own pace. Take all of what we have remembered today of who we are and keep discovering through self-exploration deeper levels of our own individual expression of the all-oneness that we be. And I just want to say thank you all for this evening. It's been wonderful, the energies that you all exude. And with that, I will give it the microphone to George.
Ever wondered why you hear so much about manifesting but rarely seem to get what you really want? We have some answers for you. Well, really, the biggest reason we don't manifest what we think we want is because we've forgotten how to do it. And when I say we've forgotten how to do it, we really are thinking that we are little beings of flesh and bone and blood, and that we're powerless and we need some help. And no matter how big we think, we always think that there's something that we are dependent on. Well, I'm here to tell you that no, we're not. The only dependency we have is the ones that we create ourselves. And some of the areas that we have ventured in have really been, to say the least, mind-bending and actually mind-expanding at the same time. Because living huge now means doing away with the little scared me, the one that's worried about the weather, that's worried about where food is going to come from, money is going to come from, how you're going to do something, why you're doing it, and who is going to jump on you and slap you down for doing it. All of that stuff is really the reason why we keep ourselves in prison. And the whole idea about this is to get ourselves out of this self-imposed prison, get out into the world, start doing what we came here to do, which was to make the difference, to be the difference, and live huge now and be self-empowered, because the principles are within you. They're not someplace where you have to go pull them down on some stones or something. They're within you, and you are it. So I will say again, to live huge now, take the controls off. The only controls in you should be the ones you have on yourself, and those are mighty controls, but they're also the ones you decide that you want to use. Thanks much for joining us, and we will be making sure to get you the updated information on this, both video, audio, and all the nice stuff within 24 to 48 hours is what it's going to happen this time. So it won't be anything like the last time, and I hope you enjoyed the audio, and if you had any of the video, that you enjoyed that too. If any
Before we end it, I just wanted to go over the resources pages. We have in here Reyes Productions, formerly of Azurite Press, Workshops and Techniques. The Elisa Freedom Forum has a lot of Soliders material, which is really helpful in understanding more of who we are and what we're about. Obviously, Voyagers 1 and 2 by Ayesha Ashanda Dean is excellent material finding out about second creation mechanics as well as first creation mechanics, but particularly second creation mechanics that I had talked about earlier. And then also resources. 101 Belief Change is an excellent book in being able to rewrite your programs, your beliefs. And also 100 Things You Need to Know About Money was excellent for me and George in helping us re-look at how we look at money. And then lastly, or here, the Keylontic Dictionary is excellent resource for learning about the soul level, oversoul, avatar, all the different levels up to get the 3D perspective on them for when you do the principle on that one. And the last one, Supermind Evolution System, is another excellent resource in reprogramming your belief systems. And with that, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and take care.